Okay, it's time to drop some more diamonds. I am now here with Associate Head Coach Taylor Wike. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first, I like to start oftentimes with a quote or a motto or affirmation that really resonates with you, that you feel like has led you throughout your career as a player to now as a coach.
Yeah, I think something that's resonated with me over the past few years is just a simple phrase of show up. I think we talked about it last year, like if you don't show up, you don't have a chance. And so ever since I was younger, that's just been something that's stuck with me throughout the years and continues to be true, that you show up, you give yourself a chance every time you do that.
What do you think is the power of being able to show up? Because oftentimes I think we can talk ourselves out of a moment and not show up. When you show up, what are the powers or the magic that happens when you discard the negative things and just make it happen?
Yeah, I think someone told me a long time ago that every time you go through a situation in your head, that you're always going to run through the worst possible case scenario. And so if you can think that what's going on in your head is the worst possible case scenario of what I'm walking into, whether it's a hard conversation or you're doing something that you've never done, I think that sets the expectation that something better is going to happen. And so for me, that's what it's always been about. And I feel like, we preach that to our girls through just showing up, being consistent in what they do. And it sets the tone of I don't have a choice. And so, it's a simple phrase and it's a simple thought, but I do think that it's something that the more simple it is, then, it gives you that consistent aspect.
I think it's so cool being able to hear all of you all speak. And the one thing that does remain the same or very consistent is the simplicity in your messages and how it really is just catch it, show up, be the best, have the dog in you. Is that something as a unit, as a staff, you guys came up with, like, listen, let's just make it simple, to the point. This is how Duke softball is going to operate.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about keeping things simple all the time. I think keeping it simple doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But it just means the basics are the basics in anything that we're doing. And so Marissa does a really good job of preaching that day in and day out. Like, if we show up and we are who we are, then Duke softball can be what it is.
How would you describe Duke softball? That's what it is.
I've said this from the time I got here. Duke softball is competitive. There's an aspect of winning that when I first entered the program, we would get in games and it's the fourth inning and I'm like, okay, things aren't clicking yet. And then we finish the game and we've won by 4 or more. And so there's an aspect of those things of, I feel like there's never a sense of pressure that comes because they know that they show up and do things the right way. They show up and do things consistently. And the basics that we go through every day show up on game day and are something that Marissa has instilled in me since when I was a player at UNC. She was actually the pitching coach there. And so I played for her for a year, and being a freshman under her, I still remember those things of, if we show up, we do the little things right day in and day out. And that's something that Duke softball does every day. They show up.
Every single day, showing up. When it comes down to, I know you work a lot with hitting and as well with infield. Is that messaging is it the same when you're talking to them for hitting and for infield? Just show up.
Show up. On the infield side of things, we tried to create a culture when I came in to just enjoy playing defense. I think defense is something that's really fun to watch when teams are elite at it, and we have such good athletes that allowing them to be themselves and be athletic is such a simple thing. But if I'm over coaching them, then they can't do that. And so on the defensive side, for sure. And then offensively, I think we talk a lot about doing, treating every pitcher, every opponent that we play the same way. Like, I'm not going to take a midweek differently in my approach, in my plan, than I would a Friday night against an ACC opponent. And so, the consistency aspect of, like, we show up the same way, no matter who we're playing, no matter who we're facing opening weekend compared to the second weekend.
What would you say is your hitting philosophy?
So we've invested a lot into motor preference. I don't know if you've heard, it's kind of been the trend over the past couple of years, but we bring in motor preference, and it's really a system that they come in and assess the players and give us who they are, how they move, how their body wants to move and gives us a foundational aspect to learn about them. And from there, we start to create a plan of what direction we're going. And I think the benefit of that is that they know that they hear the things that they tell them and they're like, yeah, that is, when I was 7 years old, that's what I did as a hitter. But then someone coached me out of that in a hitting lesson when they were maybe 15. And now we're trying to work back to those things. And there's an aspect of freedom in it of, some of our extremely talented players, like they might get away with some things that aren't in their profile of what motor preference talks about. And so we really give them a lot of freedom when it comes to that side of it, of know who you are, how you move, what your adjustments need to be offensively. And we support them through that. And if it works, we keep going with it.
Don't fight what it works.
Yeah,
don't fight what works.
Out of what they're good at is what we talk about a lot.
How would you describe the mentality that the team has going into this year from that first meeting to now a couple weeks before season starts?
Yeah, I think this group of seniors has led the way in what we're doing. And last year was they didn't make it where we wanted to go. And so we've talked a lot about a new year for them. They've come in with a different mindset of there's nothing that's going to get in their way of what they want of being back at the World Series. And it's showed up in how they've worked every day. But it's been really that group of seniors that we have who experienced the World Series in their junior year or in their sophomore year. Most of them have played since they walked on campus as freshmen. And so they want to go out on a high note. And so they've set the standard. And then our freshmen have just they've been phenomenal in getting on board, and they want to learn and they want to get better. And so I think those two classes, the sophomores and juniors have done a really good job too, but those two classes have really leveled up everyone in the program this year.
What would you say is, if you could describe Duke Softball 2026 team in one word, what would it be?
They've come up with fire. And so fire is with a Y. And I think it means a little bit something different to each of them in terms of what all of it encompasses. And I don't think it's out yet of exactly what they're going to give to the public in the next week. But last year we came up with a motto, and, some were indecisive on it. This year they've come together as a group and said, like, Duke Softball is going to be about that. We've talked a lot. I think Coach Young probably hit on it of like, you've got to have some dog in you to get it done. And the fire aspect of some of them is that, they talk about like a torch leading the way. And so some of them are carrying that torch and going to pass it on next year. And then some of them, it's like they just have enough dog in them to get it done when the time comes. So I think fire is a word to describe them, and it really encompasses what Duke Softball is going to bring this year.
Duke Softball has always had a lot of dogs, whether it be this year in the program or also in pro softball. There's 3 dogs that are currently in the AUSL, Anna, Jayla, and Caroline. And talking about Anna, I know she's infielder, big bat, someone you've been able to work with. What would you say really set Anna apart from the rest and now make her what she was for AU, which was Rookie of the Year and All Defensive Team?
Yeah. Anna's athleticism and her work ethic are really unmatched. You don't see many right-handed hitters get out of the box the way she does with her speed. She's got elite athleticism, but then she works as hard, if not harder, than anyone I've coached in my time. And so I think those things make her different. The other thing is she's just a good person and fun to be around. And so I think she's an easy teammate. She does her own thing. She doesn't worry about like small things that could get in her way, and she keeps the main thing the main thing. She probably learned a lot of that here of just the basics, but Anna's super independent and was a joy to coach. And so spending 2 years with her, you don't get many of those that are as athletic as she is, with as much power as she does and speed. So I think just her versatility as an infielder to play third base and shortstop and hit with the power she does, it makes her, one of the best.
What would you say for 2026 season, Duke Softball, what can we expect?
I think 2026 Duke Softball is going to be a year of a lot of different things. I think this team brings athleticism that we've maybe lacked in some years that we've made up for, like with that dog that some of them have. but I think this team has a mixture of power. They have a mixture of speed. We're going to have a lot of different looks in the circle this year. And so I'm excited to see what the group comes together as. And, you know, a lot of teams you hear about 2 to 3 players that are kind of the stars of the group. I think this year we put our first lineup together last week, and 1 through 9, we really felt like we were going to have a lineup to remember in Duke softball history. And so I think this group, their connection, I think you're going to see how close they are when they take the field and how much they care for each other. And you're just going to see, you know, the fire that they talk about day in and day out.
Well, thank you so much, Coach Taylor. Excited to watch the fire.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.